Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Santa Cruz Valley Chamber's Election Watch 2022 City Council Candidate Forum. My name is John Musella with the Santa Cruz Valley Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber, I'd like to thank you and welcome you and the candidates who have joined us today for this important forum, and to our members and the public who are joining us virtually. We appreciate each candidate taking the time to take our questions and to share your positions on business-related matters. One housekeeping item for everyone here with us today: the entire room is mic'd, so anything you say will be recorded and made live. So please be careful what you say. It will pick you up in this room. Its mics are very sensitive. Before we begin the forum, I would like to encourage everyone to view the Chamber's event page on the website for upcoming events. Our annual Hispanic Heritage Celebration is next Wednesday, September 21st. Our golf tournament will be held Monday, October 3rd. And our fourth annual healthcare forum focused on workplace mental health will be held on October 13th, as well as our October networking mixer at MB2 Entertainment on October 19th. There's always a lot happening at the Santa Cruz Valley Chamber, which you can look for at our website or follow us on social media. We welcome you to join us. All right, we're going to go over criteria and rules for today. You'll see we have the 5 top city council candidates joining us today. The SCV Chamber prides itself in hosting nonpartisan business issue related forums to bring the business community necessary information for the upcoming election. As we've done with past forums, we invited a panel of candidates who have met a specific set of criteria. Criteria included a minimum amount of total funds raised, cash on hand, submission of a ballot statement, engagement with the chamber, membership, and the chamber, etc. As a result, the 5 top tier candidates were invited to participate in a thoughtful discussion about business-related issues. The city council candidates joining us today are in alphabetical order, beginning with Denise Light, Councilwoman Marcia McLean, Councilman Bill Miranda, Selena Thomas, and Mayor Lorene West. Today's questions will be solely focused on business-related topics. In lieu of an opening statement, we will begin today with an opening question. Questions will begin in reverse alphabetical order by the candidate's last name and then alternate between candidates. Time limits on statements and answers will be enforced by me throughout the forum. Any candidate may be interrupted by the moderator to refocus if the candidate strays from the subject matter question. Candidates shall not interrupt each other. And as always, the Chamber has a zero tolerance policy for any person's personal attacks or remarks, including but not limited to race, gender, and or sexual orientation. Texting or other use of technology by the candidates during the forum is not permitted. And a note that a recording of today's forum will be posted on the Chamber's YouTube channel. At this point, does anyone have any questions? All the candidates good to go? All right. With that, our first question, and we will begin again in reverse alphabetical order with Mayor Lorene West. Opening question number 1. What has been your greatest accomplishment in elected office related to business, or what do you hope to accomplish if you are elected to the City Council? 2-minute responses, and we will begin with you, Mayor West.
Thank you very much. I've worked very hard through my tenure to create a great city, not a mediocre city, but a great city with our assets being focused. I voted to create the Economic Development Corporation. I wanted not only to bring great businesses here that would supply good paying jobs, but also that we could sustain them and retain them, which is critical for us. In working through creating a city where people would want to bring their business, I've worked to create over 13,000 acres through the open space district that I worked on. And also we have things that other communities don't have, trail networks, so people can get around safely, employees that get to transit stations, they get to their jobs, they get their kids to school without worrying. I wanted a quality of life here that was powerful and that it would keep us healthy, it would sustain us, it would attract tourism, and it would make businesses viable, keeping us safe and a beautifully sustainable community in the future as well as now.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Selena Thomas.
Yes, thank you. I think my biggest accomplishment in this community has been building a business that serves other businesses. And during the height of COVID, I served many small businesses that were in crisis, as we all were, and saved thousands of jobs, not just as a strategic partner as it relates to my company serving them in their HR related matters, but also a voice that gave hope to small businesses that they would recover, I was in 2020 nominated as a rising star in our community because of the COVID response that I provided on my own. And also being able to say that I'm a stakeholder in this community, having raised my daughters here, having also purchased a home because of what I built here. I think now moving forward in the recovery aspect, still being a voice for small businesses in their workforce issues, those are elements that are really nuanced to small businesses right now. There's a lot of issues related to people coming back to the workplace that aren't seen by the general business community. And that is something I'm a strategic partner in with many small businesses to help them in their recovery. So I think those are, I know it's a bit of a list, but it all ties to building a business here.
Great, thank you, Selena. And I would like to, as much as I love the attention and the eye contact over here at the podium, I would, of course, welcome the candidates to address the audience directly on, straight on. And I know it's a little awkward here with the cameras off the left, but I think that's probably the best for this afternoon. With that, we're going to move to Councilmember Bill Miranda.
Thank you, and thank you, Logix, for giving us this opportunity to present ourselves to not only the chamber members, but to the public at large. The answer to the question for me is the cube. And what do I mean by that? 27,000 people signed the petition to save the ice skating station. 27,000 people. So if you want to be on the council, you want to connect to the community, you have to listen when 27,000 people are talking to you. The leaders of that movement came to the council and said, we really need for you to save the cube. They didn't say buy the cube, they didn't say renovate the cube, they just said save the cube. Well, I was in the forefront on the council to say, we have to do this. I led the fight to save the cube, not only save it, but we paid to have a premier consultant look at what the cube, what the ice skating station was all about, what's the possibility of us being able to save it. They came back, the consulting firm came back and said, yes, you can do it if you do all these things. And we voted yes to do all those things. And we now have the cube, Ice Skate and Entertainment Center, which as of last year had 87,000 members of this community attend. It is one of the most, if not the most used venue in our community. I'm very proud to not only have cast the votes to get us from there to here, but to have led the fight to make it happen.
Thank you, Councilmember Miranda. Councilmember McLean.
Yes, hi. Well, one of my greatest accomplishments is when as I am sitting on the city council, I get a lot of emails. I got a lot of emails from businesses, small businesses especially, who wanted to open a business here in Santa Clarita. And they were saying that it was very difficult to get through the permitting process. And in looking into it, I agreed with them, because what they would do is they would go ahead and get a business plan without getting the city's consultation, and therefore they would run into problems. So I asked our city manager and our council to print a guide to opening a small business in the city of Santa Clarita. And this is the guide that was printed. We have moved on to one-stop permitting online, but that is one of my achievements. Another one is being a small business owner and managing our business with my husband. I understand what it takes to open a small business here and to maintain a viable business. So, and I'm able to share that. Another one is my experience with the Chamber of Commerce. I knew long before I was ever elected the importance of being involved with our chambers of commerce. And since then, I have spearheaded many committees. And especially in years past, been a member of the membership committee. I chaired the environmental committee, and I continuously every month attend the chamber's council on government, so that I can learn what it takes from the chamber's point of view, and to be able to make sure that as a council person, I understand what is going on at the chamber and with our small businesses. Another accomplishment is understanding that employees need to be able to get to and from their work and their home. And unfortunately, about 50% of our population transports themselves outside of our valley.
And Councilmember, that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Light.
Thanks, John. I think question was two parts. Number one, what is your biggest accomplishment in business? And the second part, which I don't think anybody has yet answered, is what do you hope to accomplish if you are elected to the city council? So I'm going to address both of those. My biggest accomplishment as a business owner is I've been a business owner for 26 years. I've owned my own law firm. We are located in 2 states. I'm proud to say that in 2008, with the mortgage meltdown and in the pandemic recently, we did not lay off a single person. We did not furlough a single person. We did not cut anybody's hours, and we did not transition them to any other job location. They had the choice to work from home if they wanted to, or they had the choice to work at the firm. And so my biggest accomplishment is keeping people employed during the hardest times of our lives. And I am very, very proud of that. That was not easy to do. My partner and I are very committed to our employees, and not a lot of people can say that they did not lay off or lose a single person during the mortgage meltdown or during the pandemic. So that is what my biggest accomplishment for me as a business owner has been. What I hope to accomplish, the city conducted a survey conducted by True North Consultants in 2002, and they asked what the city's residents' top 5 concerns are, and in the top 5 was public safety, believe it or not surprising now. So what I would like to accomplish is to give the residents a better sense of satisfaction with their safety, especially business owners. Business owners don't want to be concerned with smash and grab robberies. They don't want to be concerned with their employees being held up. So one of my accomplishments, I would like to see the city put forth a public safety task force, further investigating our own police service department. Business owners don't want to be worried about their employees. Perhaps looking at our own prosecutor to prosecute crimes that take place in the Santa Clarita Valley, so we don't have to rely on bureaucrats down in Los Angeles. And so that's something that I would work towards doing for the city residents.
Great, thank you, Denise. All right, our second question, we'll begin with Selena Thomas, and then we'll work our way down the line again. Everyone on stage either does or has owned a business. What do you believe is the greatest issue facing Santa Cruz businesses, and how do you plan to address it with the help of the SCV Chamber? 2-minute responses.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest, as I mentioned earlier, is current state of our workforce. Our workforce has a different concept of what it's like to work in person, drawing them back in and being able to accomplish the employers being able to then revitalize. So one of the workforce issues specifically is working from home versus working in person. So I've had to be a strategic partner with many employers on how to make employment more desirable in person, create a strategic plan with them specifically on how to provide perks that maybe aren't necessarily things that they thought of. Hybrid schedule is recent. Hey, let's meet in the middle. Let's compromise. The employers and the employees have to be able to compromise on returning to work, getting our companies back. I have a strong relationship with the Workforce Development Department here in Santa Clarita at COC. That relationship is committed to supporting employers in the development of their employees, bringing jobs, and also training employees in our community to work and live here. Work-life balance is very important now that we are, as employees understand that, and they are looking for that in employment. And so being a strategic partner in those relationships, strong with the chamber, strong with Valley Industry Association, those are things that I continue to advocate for in my work at 6 Degrees, but I would also take that skill set into the chamber, into the council.
Great, thank you. Councilman Miranda.
Denise Light just quoted a 2002 poll, I believe. I'll quote a poll that was taken very recently by the Economic Development Corporation. What do employers want? What are they looking for? And yes, public safety was one of those issues. Workforce skills and availability was another critical issue right now. And a third issue was broadband. Right, broadband, because people are working from home, people are working from remote destinations, and they want to have instant access to their whole and entire company database and their customer databases. And vendor databases and all of those. So we in the city are focused on public safety. We not only just opened, while I was mayor last year, the new sheriff station, which is almost twice the size of the old sheriff station and has the ability to make every single deputy more efficient and more effective. So we did that. I voted for that, and we completed that project during the pandemic. So there was no hesitation. Do we complete this or do we hold off and see what happens? No, there was no hesitation. Public safety is the number one responsibility of every council member. Number two, workforce availability. We work very closely with the College of the Canyons, and skills development is key in College of the Canyons, not just academic skills, but they have a culinary kitchen. They have training in many of the skills that are needed in today's society that unfortunately there are fewer and fewer workers into those skills, but we're reversing that trend. And finally, we work very closely with all the utilities and all the agencies involved to make sure that we're advancing to a state-of-the-art fiber optic 5G network facility for everybody. We are connected to One Wilshire.
Councilmember, your time. Councilmember McLean.
Excuse me, thank you. One of our greatest issues facing our businesses are they're still trying to recover from the pandemic. And they face a whole lot of problems at this point, trying to just recover from that. What we have done within the city of Santa Clarita and our city council has directed our community resources department to make sure that our businesses were able to stay open by expanding out onto the sidewalks and to make sure that they were able to continue their businesses. Right now, another issue is rebuilding the workforce, because it's very difficult to get people to come to work, and our restaurants, especially in our smaller businesses, are trying to not only recover from the pandemic, but be able to conduct their business in a viable manner. What we plan to do in the future, what I plan to do in the future is what I've been doing, is to continue to be able to collaborate with our business associations. I do that locally with the Chamber of Commerce via an Economic Development Corporation, as well as I take the time to take leadership roles on a regional basis for regional different organizations, such as the Southern California Association of Governments, BizFed, VICA. I make sure that I keep up to date on what our businesses here in Santa Clarita need to continue to be successful. Our city never laid off an employee. Our city stayed open. Other cities and other areas did not. That is due to the fact that our council was committed to making sure our community was taken care of and to be able to prosper, especially our small businesses. Our city set up an incubator in order to be able to show entrepreneurs how they could open a business and how they could maintain their businesses. So,
Councilmember, that's time.
thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Light.
I would like to see the city continue its partnership with entities such as the Chamber, VIA, and the EDC to build on that strong foundation. Those entities are our boots on the ground. They have the working knowledge of what the employers are facing with their employees, and we need to build on that strong foundation. We can all talk about platitudes about getting people back to work, but how do you do that? How do we bring businesses back here? There's lots of things that we can be doing. We could be expediting permitting processes for new people, for new businesses. We can be waiving fees to bring businesses back into the city. We can offer incentives like tax credits to bring businesses back into the city. For example, we can say to a business, If you're a business with 5 or fewer employees and 1,000 square feet or less, we'll waive the water connection fee. Or there are things that we can do to bring businesses, maybe not the same businesses, hopefully we can bring those businesses back, but bring additional new businesses by offering those types of incentives to get them here. You know, just saying we want to bring people back to work without a plan doesn't really do much. So we have to really go out there and provide those incentives to those business and job creators to get those employees back into the city.
All right, Mayor West.
Thank you. The most critical thing that we have to do is keep a safe community. We did open a brand new sheriff station during the pandemic. Business cannot thrive with snatch and grab. It cannot thrive when the employees are worried about their wives and children trying to get home off the street and being attacked. We are a safe city. We have maintained the resources to do that. We will continue to do that. We will fight every way we can to keep a safe community. Business also does need broadband. It needs technology to be continually monitored, looked at, and updated. We have a great workforce, and we partner with the Chamber, COC, with the EDC. These are critical avenues for businesses to get people trained, to see what needs to come into the city, retention of the businesses that are really important. We are also a no tax city, and business like stability. They like Prop 13. They like things that don't tax. We don't. And we encourage doing things that support businesses being able to stay stable. After all, people can't afford homes if they can't get a good job, and we want to have good jobs here, and we work really hard on keeping them here. So I would say keep crime at bay. And keep doing what it takes to support the organizations that will continue to work to sustain and create for the 21st century.
Thank you, Mayor West. Thank you, everyone, on that round of questions. The next round of questions, we are going to start with Councilmember Miranda. Next question. The SCV Chamber supports the creation of a proper convention center to host meetings and events and attract larger conventions, which would increase hotel occupancy and associated tax revenue for the city. Would you support a feasibility study for a convention center? What are the greatest opportunities for one? And where would you suggest the city build it? We'll pursue that response to Councilmember Miranda.
That's such an easy question. I could probably answer it in 2 words, and that's absolutely yes. And it has to be near and around town center. That's the short answer. Now, let me give you an answer, a longer answer. We just came back, some of us in the city, just came back from the League of California Cities Convention in Long Beach. I cannot tell you how important that convention center is to the city of Long Beach. It is an incredible economic vitality generator. And it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. Whatever we invest to not only study, but build a community, a convention center here in Santa Clarita, it's worth its weight in gold. We will get so much economic vitality. We will get so much. You don't only build a convention center, but you build major hotels to go with the convention center. And then you build major facilities that go along with the convention center that include restaurants, include entertainment. So you're not just building a convention center, you're building a community for not only business, but for the arts. And the economic vitality that comes from that is an incredibly profitable investment, and I would vote for it on a minute's notice.
Thank you, Councilmember Miranda. Next, Councilmember McLean.
Yes, and absolutely yes. For many, many long years, I have been a total advocate of a conference center here in Santa Clarita. We have a perfect opportunity and a location to put it. Whitaker Burmite was contaminated. It has been cleared by DTSC in order to start building. What we need is someone willing to come and build a mixed use opportunity there for the conference center, for the hotels, for affordable homes right in the middle there. It's in the middle of our city and 100% is able to support a conference center. We actually did a feasibility study a while back in which a conference center was very much wanted by our community. It makes no sense for all of us to have to go elsewhere to attend a conference or a convention when we have a facility right next to a Metrolink station where people can get on that train, come on out here, attend the conference, stay at our hotels, and bring those tax dollars back to Santa Clarita instead of having them being ciphered out. So yes, 100% support it, have worked very long and hard to make sure that we get one out here. And the things that I want to see in the future is to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Ms. Light.
You know, it strikes me that every time an issue comes up, the current council members talk about how long they have been working on getting that issue to come to fruition. Well, obviously your advocacy is not successful if you've been working for years and years and years to get something accomplished and it still doesn't get accomplished. So to answer the question, yes, we should do a convention center for sure. That it should be, I agree with Councilmember Miranda, it should be in the heart of the city center to draw people to restaurants, service providers, movies. Magic Mountain should be close to hotels. A prime example of that would be the Pasadena Convention Center, right in the heart of their city, easy walking distance to Lake Avenue, all of the great restaurants and entertainment there. What I don't want to see happen is the city play catch up. You know, some people who live in Canyon Country or Newhall say the city's always invested in Valencia. Now they're playing catch up to get to all of these neighborhoods and to give them more amenities. What I don't want to have happen is have a convention center built on the other side of the 5 freeway in the unincorporated area of our city, so to speak, that's controlled by the county. And then we lose all of that tax revenue. So I don't want to be playing catch up. We should be doing that as soon as possible. And, you know, if our advocacy is not successful for years and years and years to get this done, let's change the advocacy, because we will be playing catch up if something brand new and beautiful is built like that up at 5 Point or someplace on the west side of the 5 freeway.
Thank you, Ms. Light. Mayor West.
Thank you. There's a couple of sites within the center of the city that could effectively work for that. We would need to partner to do a feasibility study, and I'm very, very open to saying yes to that. It's an obvious, great asset if it can work. And we would have to look at all the available amenities that would support, and it certainly would be a benefit for TOT tax, and that is transit occupancy tax. And it would certainly be something that I think our businesses would love. I know our hotels would love it, the restaurants would love it. And I'd like to see us move ahead on that. I will say the county did a very good job of creating Valencia. I can't take as a city any credit for that at all. They did a marvelous job. And we're working on everything else to try to be as good as that. And there are some amazing communities here. And I think if people were coming here to come to conventions, I think they would love our old town. They would love the feel of our open space. We're a very natural area. Look out at mountains. They've been preserved. You have a wonderful trail system to ground everything. It's a fun place to visit, and tourism is one of the things that really can promote a community, a city like ours. So yes, the answer is it would be wonderful we could do that.
Mayor West. Ms. Thomas.
Yes, I would absolutely endorse that. And not only that, I'm currently serving on the Santa Clarita International Advisory Committee along with Bill Miranda. And some of the challenges about this venue and getting it to really come to life is the lack of a venue. There's a lot of challenges in having to split up the event and having to find different places to host different evenings. If we had a center point that was a focal point for this, we could grow innovative ideas like this. We're talking about an international film festival that would be equal to Sundance, that brings the commerce, that brings the arts. We can do things at the same, in that same gesture. And on top of that, we get to be a center point for the Hollywood North. There's a lot of that industry here. It's growing. It is time for a venue like that to be in place. Have a committee that focuses on that, how that commerce can then enhance and be a continued center point for us. So I'd absolutely agree with that.
Great, thank you, Ms. Thomas. And thank you for bridging us here to Hollywood North, because that is actually the next question. Santa Clarita has long been considered Hollywood North. Today, the interest in building new studios in Santa Clarita is rapidly growing, which would bring additional jobs and millions in economic development generation here to the city. Do you support the construction of more studios and required infrastructure to support the film industry's growth in Santa Clarita? 2 minute responses, and we will begin with Councilmember Marcia McLean.
Yes, we are definitely known as Hollywood North. We are one of the most prime areas for filming because of everything that we have to offer. Our studios probably are at max right now as to what they can do. So yes, a new studios would be welcome. And the additional infrastructure to go with that would be very welcome. We have a fabulous filming area. There's a 30-mile radius that they call the sweet spot for filming. And yes, that's one of the reasons why we are Hollywood North. I just want to mention, it takes many, many years to put forth. You can have an idea, but the wheels of government turn slowly, and it takes a little bit of time, and it takes a little bit of experience in order to know how to get those things. You can't just say you want something and all of a sudden it pops up. You have to know what works and doesn't work. So yes, I agree that we do need new studios, and especially with the infrastructure that it would take.
Thank you, Councilmember McLean. Ms. Light.
Yes, I definitely support an expansion of Hollywood North, so to speak. I personally met with Jeff Weber of Shadowbox Studios to understand what his project entailed, what it would look like, what kind of impact that would have to the community. In addition to the jobs and economic impact to the community, one of the things that I was most impressed by was his kind of like his youth training program, where he trains kids who are not necessarily college material or who don't want to go to college. He trains them, their organization trains them to have high paying jobs, truck drivers, gaffers, any job other in the industry, so that they can afford to live here, that they have jobs with benefits. And that is critical to the success of our city, is having people with high paying jobs so they can afford to live here. So yes, I would definitely support that. With regard to the Shadowbox project that's been in the works for 2 years, getting the environmental impact report finished and out and getting that project moving is critically important. We've had jobs sitting on the wayside for 2 years now. Like, let's get these people employed. Let's get this project moving. And the last thing I would say about that is, for that parcel, we have to get the Dockweiler extension finished. And so that would be a critical part of that infrastructure to allow for that kind of business to go back and forth in our city.
Thank you, Ms. Light. Mayor West.
Thank you. This is such an easy question. Filming has been in this valley heavily since 1910. We are very much a film valley, and we are historically where people want to film. We're in a 30-mile radius. I grew up in the film industry. I love it. And the nice thing about bringing filming here, and especially the project that you speak of, is that it will employ thousands of people. It will bring revenue that will help offset a very great deal to the city's tax base that we have lost a lot of to retail that went to the internet now because of the pandemic, and some of that will come back. But the thing with the movie studios is they purchase what they need where they are. So if they need 150 suits, they send somebody over to, say, a store like Macy's, and they buy it right there, right now. And they spend the revenue where they are. And that is a tremendous benefit to the city taxes. It also brings a lot of prestige to a community. And I think the community really likes filming. We all look at TV and we watch movies and we go, oh yeah, that's who that is. And we love it. And that's who we are. Santa Clarita is famous for this. They like us. We have almost 20,000 acres around us. between the city's open space and the Santa Monica Conservancy holdings on the west side at Davis Park. They love that. They can film any location almost that you could find in the world right here in Santa Cruz. So yeah, bring them on. Whatever we need to do to get them, bring them. We need to build it.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes, thank you. I completely agree. I think we're all in a consensus. I think what differentiates me in this space, and especially in the fact that I work with employers now that serve in this industry. Luxury Flush is a client of mine for 8 years, and they are booming and they're excited. They're excited that they have an advocate that's speaking to not only their being recovered, but they're also looking for the future. They're looking for an advocate that is going to speak to what their industry specifically can do for our community members in terms of jobs and skills. Specialized skills in this industry really can carry someone through a career. I know many people that have retired, that are retired industry people that live in this community and have filmed in this community and can highlight their record of bringing something here. There is, the process of making sure that our topography and everything that comes with that is reviewed as being appropriate. We have the resources to make sure that that happens. And so I'm a big proponent for this. And part of why I lend myself to arts and industries in terms of the Santa Fe International Film Festival is because that is really part of my Smart Growth initiative. And smart growth is got to be at a pace that makes sense. It's got to be at a pace that aligns with the community's need for something new and innovative and brings revenue, brings the commerce. So that's absolutely something I would do.
Ms. Thomas. Councilmember Miranda.
$43 million in economic vitality to our community comes from the filming industry. $43 million. That's a huge number. And that's with 50 plus, a little over 50 sound stages today in Santa Clarita. There was mention of Shadowbox. Shadowbox is a potential project. It's not a live project yet as far as the council is concerned. But there is another studio that's already broken ground. And that's Rye Canyon Studios. And they have almost 30,000 sound stages that they're going to add to the 50,000 sound stages we already have. So we're going to go to 80,000, round numbers, 80,000 sound stages in probably 2 or 3 years. And again, that's not counting Shadowbox, which at some point in time might add another 25 to 30 sound stages. The point I'm making is the economic vitality it brings to our community is enormous. But I'll touch on what Councilmember West said. And she said, this is part of our history. This is part of our culture. We are Hollywood North, not because we call ourselves Hollywood North, but because we are in fact Hollywood North and have been for many, many, many years. Melody Studios here in Placerita Canyon. Over 1,000 Westerns were filmed there. Over 1,000, all of Gene Autry's Westerns, most of Gene Autry's Westerns, those of you who don't know Gene Autry, look it up, were filmed there. And what I'm going to say, the Chamber of Commerce in 1989, when I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I was fortunate enough to be a member of the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce, started the first film group in Santa Clarita. And they had businesses supporting the film industry. All of us at the chamber at that time worked hard to create that film industry and make it a very vibrant part of our society. And I'm sure both Lorene and Marcia were part of that, but I have to tell you, being part of the chamber, that was a glory time for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Miranda. All right, our next question will begin with Ms. Light. The City Council will be moving to district-based elections in 2024, where each council member will now have a set constituency to represent. First, how did you vote on moving to districts and why? Second, how will you ensure the business community is not negatively affected by council districts when business-related issues are generally citywide issues? A 2-minute answer. Obviously, if you were on the council to vote, could you let us know how you would have voted if you were on the council?
I was not on the council, so I did not vote for it. However, I can say without a doubt, after reading hundreds and hundreds of pages of the litigation, which I actually pulled and did read, I would say that I would have voted to settle the city lawsuit. There is a prominent case pending in front of the California Supreme Court right now called Pico Homeowners Association versus the city of Santa Monica. That case is currently in front of the California Supreme Court. And it's the exact same issue that we were facing here in Santa Clarita. And the problem with that lawsuit is the way that the statute is written, because there's only a one-way attorney's fee provision in that lawsuit. But if the city of Santa Monica, like the city of Santa Clarita, were to fight that lawsuit and lose, they are looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in damages and legal fees. And had we pursued that lawsuit, it could have potentially bankrupt us. The city of Santa Monica is looking at involuntary bankruptcy as a result of that case if they lose the case. So unquestionably, that case should have been settled, and I'm glad that it was, because it saved our city and our residents from being bankrupted. I'm sorry, could you repeat the second part of the question, John?
Sure, absolutely. Second half is, how will you ensure the business community is not negatively affected by council districts when business-related issues are generally citywide issues?
You know, that's a very tough question to answer, because as we see right now, when there are districts such as with our county board of supervisors, you see the supervisors pitting one another against each other to have favorable things in one district or unfavorable things in another district. And so as a city council member, regardless of whether we have at-large elections or district elections, it's important that we all work together for the common good to protect the businesses in our area. We don't want it to be a situation where we're, trying to elbow something in or out. So as a council member with my mediation experience, I'm a very good listener. One of the things that makes a successful lawyer is, first you have to listen very carefully so that you can see the need that needs to be met, or the loophole or the argument that can be made against or for something. So being a really good listener and then trying to collaborate with the other city council members so that the greatest good is accomplished for the greatest amount of people, in this case, businesses within our city.
Thank you. All right, Mayor West. And again, just to reiterate, how did you vote on moving the districts and why, and how will you ensure the business community is not negatively affected?
I voted to move to districts because it was completely unwinnable case. We could not put our constituency through that. It would be unconscionable. And I don't believe districts are the best government. You can see that in the Board of Supervisors and in some other cities. But I think letting the cities' coffers be devastated and our constituents harmed, you could not go there. You had to go ahead and settle it, and we have. I'm going to look to our Valley residents who have always supported each other on issues. We have always, when something has been a problem, we have always sustainably worked together, and I think we can continue to do that. It's going to be very important to not look at your little piece of the valley, but the whole of the valley, because that's why Santa Clarita is great. We are an incredible city because everything we do is about the whole valley, things that benefit everybody, whether it's building a new sheriff's station, whether it's continuing to expand our trail system, whether it's new parks or building sports fields, whether it's creating art pieces for all over the valley. We need to do what it takes so that we remain a viable city. And to do that, we're going to have to elect people that are willing to work together. And I think Denise Light made some good comments on that. You got to be willing to listen and not just say, well, I don't want that. We saw what happened with the Board of Supervisors when the other four supervisors decided they just wanted to put a prison out here in Saugus. And it was 4-1, and our supervisor voted to not do it, to sustain our city and to defend Santa Clarita against something that was totally placed in the wrong place. And of course, we are working toward resolving that issue, but it's a hard battle. But that's the kind of thing when it doesn't affect district, and well, it's not my problem, but it is our problem. We're one valley. We're completely integrated together. We need to remain solid together and fighting for each other, not against each other.
Thank you, Mayor West. Ms. Thomas.
Yes, thank you. I believe in being fiscally responsible. I think the consensus is that that wouldn't have been a fiscally responsible decision We pride ourselves in being that as a city, as a community. I already have established relationships with over 100 small business owners here in this community as directly their strategic partner in their human resources, but also in when there's a crisis. I've shown that in the crisis that occurred with COVID. And so hearing their voice, developing a business consortium that allows their voices to be heard and be collaborative with them, not just as a council member, but there's already a consensus this wouldn't make sense. But then how do we move forward? Moving forward would obviously reflect that we, in districting, have to work as a dais and not as individuals. And that would be our job, regardless if we were district or not. And so I would be working collaboratively, and I'm already like-minded with the council members. I have a strong relationship, and I've already shown my willingness to support decisions that make sense for our community. So that's how I would.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Councilmember Miranda.
Think about this districting. Would you have built the Canyon Country Community Center if we had districting? Would you have the new sheriff station in Golden Valley if you had districting? Would you have saved the Q in Valencia if you had districting? I'm afraid to tell you the answer is probably not. Right? Districting is a bad idea in Santa Clarita. We are one valley. We are one community. We work well together. We have proven it over 35 years. We work well together. We serve one another's needs. No part of this valley is better or greater or more important than any other part. We've made that work. So I'm on record. I'm totally against districting. However, did I vote? Yes, I voted. I voted for the reasons that have been mentioned now. Our hands were tied. We were wearing handcuffs. We were wearing a vest that wouldn't let us move. And basically they said, vote this or die. And so I voted, but that's the only reason. I still think districting is a bad idea. We voted, we're gonna go districting, we're gonna make the best possible. But let me tell you, the second part of the question is the Chamber of Commerce. The answer is the Chamber of Commerce. You go beyond districting. You're not districting, okay? You have the ability to go to all the communities and pitch everybody. You have the ability to pitch all 5 council members. And so we need a strong Chamber of Commerce, constantly vigilant over the needs of businesses and making sure that the council members, all of them, whether they're in districts or not, respond to the needs of the community at large.
Thank you, Councilmember Miranda. Councilmember McLean.
Yes, okay, so I was the lone no vote. At the time of the city council meeting, I explained to my fellow council members that the words yes would not come out of my mouth because this was a purely political thing that we were forced to do. I did not obviously want our city to lose the money. However, the words yes would not come out of my mouth because it's not going to be good for our city. I do want to tell you that the 3 incumbents that are running right now, if elected, re-elected, will continue to serve at large for the next 4 years. So we do work together, we collaborate, we don't always agree, but we know how to collaborate together. So when we are going to districts in 2024, there will be 2 districts that will be specifically districts. We will continue to work together. I have always represented equally Newhall, Valencia, Saugus, and Canyon Country. And I will continue to do that when reelected to the city council. That is an absolute must. But you have to understand, anyone living in any one of those districts only gets to vote for 1 person. Right now, you can vote for 5, which evens out how you are represented. There are whole groups that are going to be disenfranchised with this districting thing. So I could not in good conscience vote to pay this attorney a whole lot of money to not do good for our city. So I did vote no. However, I did explain to my council members it has nothing to do with them and voting against them. It's just the words yes would not come out of my mouth. I couldn't do it.
Thank you, Councilmember McLean. All right, our next question, we're going to start with Mayor West. Often political campaigns can be negative. Can you share with us who on stage you'd most like to work with on business-related issues and why? And we're going to do 1 minute answers for everyone.
Oh, that's pretty easy. It would be Bill Miranda. Bill is, he's a strong businessman. He helped start the Latino Chamber of Commerce. He is always working on business affairs. He has great concern for helping the business entities succeed and thrive, and that comes through in his votes. Chamber, he's always amenable to talk. He's friendly and he'll listen. And it's enjoyable to work with somebody that can share thoughts and experiences and work. Sometimes we don't agree, but he's always very loving and friendly about it. But we always get to a good place where we come with good decisions. And I've seen his work over the last couple of years, and I applaud him, and I'm happy to work with him on business issues in the Santa Cruz Valley.
Thank you, Mayor West. Ms. Thomas,
It's 1 or 2?
1 minute.
Is it 1? Am I?
Oh,
always
just
selecting
one.
person?
1 and 1 minute.
Okay, just one. That's absolutely, definitely Bill Miranda, as because I had an established relationship with him. His leadership has really mentored me in a lot of the things that I've done in the business community. I can call upon him for, leadership opportunities. He's been very forthcoming about making sure that he extends diversity in our community, and that's in some situations a courageous thing to do. And I think anyone that has stepped forward and done something that no one else has done is courageous. And so I definitely would say.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Councilmember Miranda.
I'm going to get myself in trouble because I feel very comfortable with all 4 other members that are on the dais over here. I have in fact worked with both Marcia and Lorene and find them to be every bit as good and challenging as it should be. So I could work with them, but you're basically asking me, and I'm ambidextrous. You're asking me, do I favor my left arm or my right arm? And so I'm going to publicly pass on the question. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I can work with all 4 of us.
Thank you, Councilmember Miranda. All right, Councilmember McLean.
Yes, well, I'm going to pick Bill Miranda because although I could work with these guys over here too as well. And whoever is elected, I'm going to work with. That's okay. Don't giggle, don't laugh. Whoever is lucky enough to be elected, I'm a consensus type person and I would work with them, but I'm going to pick Bill. I encouraged Bill to put in an application when we were appointing a council member because I worked with him before with the Hispanic chamber and such, and I worked with him. And he's done a good job, a wonderful job, and he does listen. He doesn't have to do say bad things or nasty things. He's not that type of a person. So I want to serve with somebody who doesn't do that, who doesn't take cheap shots and stuff like that. So I'm going to say Bill Miranda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McLean. Ms. Light.
In my job, I have to work with people that I'm adversarial against every day, and you have to maintain a calm composure and listening ears. So I can work with anybody on the stage as well. However, the person that I'm most looking forward to is Lorene. I had the chance to meet with her. She was very readily open to meeting with me. She shared thoughts and ideas about city history and answered any questions that I had. She has a force about her where she doesn't need to take credit for things that other people have done. She can stand on her own 2 feet with her own accomplishments. And she is committed to mentoring other people. When I asked her that question, if she was committed to mentoring other people, she said yes. And I think it's our job as responsible citizens to mentor the next generation of leadership. I think it's our responsibility, our civic responsibility to train up the next generation of leadership. And Lorraine was really open to that idea, and I appreciated her doing that. So I am most looking forward to working with her.
Thank you, Ms. Light. All right, we have our closing question for this afternoon. The final question is here, and it is time for you to make your closing argument. The business community is looking to make a decision on which 3 candidates to support this year. Tell us why you. Why do you deserve the support of the business community? We're going to begin with Ms. Thomas, and we're looking for 1-minute answers since we're wrapping up right there. So, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, and I thank you again for the Chamber for this invitation. I believe that I have established myself in this business community. I have strong business relationships. I've served over 100 businesses in the community, but I started a business here. I know what it takes to build a business, support businesses, and to continue those relationships beyond this community. I've been in the big rooms. I was an intern and served in the White House. I'm somebody that transcends opportunities so that they can come to our community. And it's very important to me that those business relationships are heard and those business voices are heard. And I believe that my voice at this time, from what I've done in the crisis and now wanting to do in the recovery, would be that voice that could get to work day one. I'm established with the workforce development with COC, the chamber, on 2 steering committees currently right now with the chamber that continues to support that growth. So that would be.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Right on the nose. All right, Councilmember Miranda.
I grew up in the inner city in New York City, and I went into the military and had a leadership position in the military. I left the military, went into the corporate world and had a leadership position in the corporate world, ended up being a Fortune 500 executive. I was blessed to have gotten that there, especially in the era that I rose. Then I went from there, I became an entrepreneur, and I built 2 multi-million-dollar companies. I'm blessed to have done that. And then I went on to become a community leader here in Santa Clarita. I think some of you have mentioned that. I was the head of the Latino Chamber of Commerce and did that for 8 years and brought it not only to significance, but then I merged it. I helped with the help of the chamber. We merged it and made it an even better chamber. And as you may know, the chamber board is the most diverse board ever. And I have to attribute some of that to what I did with the Latino Chamber and the merger.
Councilmember Miranda. Councilmember McLean.
I thank you. I definitely have a vision for the business community in Santa Clarita. Our city consistently receives awards and recognition as a business-friendly city. And I believe this is not by accident, but due to the commitment I and my fellow council members have to maintain a vital and strong business community. I will never vote to charge a utility tax or require a business license in the city. Many other cities throughout California are struggling financially and have proposed new fees or taxes to try to balance their budgets. Santa Clarita is in great financial shape because we make sure we maintain a balanced budget. As a small business owner, I understand that concept, and I will continue to work with the chamber, VIA, and the EDC to make sure that our business community continues to thrive so that the city of Santa Clarita also continues to thrive. I don't make empty promises. When I make a promise, I make sure that I carry through to keep it, and I make sure that it's a promise that can be kept. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember McLean. All right, Ms. Light.
You don't stay in business and build a multi-state business by being unsuccessful in your advocacy. I'm very proud of the fact that I have built my business to the size that it is. I'm responsible for feeding many families and many households, and I know the pressure that is on the business community to thrive, survive, go forward, and build. My commitment is that I will always operate with common sense. I will operate with fiscal responsibility. I will hear everybody's opinion and do what is best for the greater good. And I would urge that we take a look at business issues, not by issue, but by impact. We can't give every issue the same amount of time and attention, but if an issue has a large impact, we should prioritize those issues so that they get resolved quickly and readily for the betterment of our community.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Mayor West.
Thank you. I have focus and drive. I work on very tough projects. I worked on creating the parks we have, an open space district that is unparalleled in the United States. And I worked on a trail system that is like nowhere else in the country. I get things done that make Santa Cruz a great city, and I get things done that work for everyone. I love to work with people on things, and I'm very open to the community's requests and the needs that they have in their areas. The most important thing to me, keep Santa Cruz safe. If you don't keep it safe, business can't thrive, jobs won't be here, families will not want to stay. And so that's most important to me, to be business friendly, to keep our city beautiful, clean, graffiti free, and to just keep us healthy. Our city respects its past, and a city that respects its past can have a great future.
Thank you, Mayor West. All right, I want to thank all of the candidates for participating in today's forum with the chamber and everyone here today with us. I want to have everyone please remember that vote by mail ballots drop the first week in October, and election day is Tuesday, November 8th. You'll be able to look for additional information on voting on the chamber website as we get our Election Watch 2022 information online. And please look for the chamber's candidate endorsements in the coming week and of course, our Election Watch 2022 emails. Look forward to seeing you all at our upcoming events. Thank you all again for being here. We appreciate it. And we appreciate everyone joining virtually as well, remote, since we have that open to the general public. For that, we want to thank everyone and call to close.